So let's begin our service with the opening reading and treatment. Today I'm reading from Creative Thought from Reverend Susan Hartlight of North Hollywood, California. And she wrote, "With joy I express my gratitude and am open to receive my good. Knowing my word has power, I release it to the creative law of mind and experience my desires manifest, and so it is." So let us put these words of wisdom to work in our lives through affirmative prayer. I'm going to say this prayer in the first person. Take it in for yourself. If I say something that works for you, hold tightly to that. If I say something that doesn't work for you, just let that part slide by. But just know this truth with me today. There is but one mind, one God, one power. That power is perfect love. It's divine intelligence. And that power is flowing through me, with me, and for me. So here today, I open my mind to every great idea of how I can live in more love, more joy, and prosperity. Here today, I lift my eyes up and see myself as a free child of the Most High, here on earth to experience every good thing that life has to offer. This is my truth. I celebrate this right knowing, and I release this prayer into the mind of God to do its good and powerful work, returning to me multiplied abundantly. And together we say, and so it is. My talk title today is Freedom. With 4th of July coming up, I thought it would be a good time to discuss freedom. It's important that we do because it's important that we value our freedoms. They were hard fought for, and we should appreciate our freedoms. Too often we give them away without much thought. Freedom is not like Janis Joplin sang about. It's not just another word. Perhaps if she had ditched Bobby McGee sooner, she would have figured that out for herself. Some old dusty, musty hippie singing the blues. Who needs that? If you're going to be a hippie, I say get some flowers in your hair and sing some happy songs. Or at least get into the kitchen and cook some sunflower bread or perhaps some brownies. Dr. Holmes, our founder, he said that freedom is the divine plan. Freedom. It is what God intended for you. The very first moment it had the thought of you. And you're here to experience freedom and more freedom. Not when we get all saintly, but right where we are, right as we are. It's what we've come to experience, to grow into the perfection of God. And we will all get there. No, not one of us shall be missing, Dr. Holmes wrote. And in fact, creation won't be complete until we all arrive back home. It'd be like having a 4th of July picnic and not bringing potato salad. It just wouldn't be complete without it. Dr. Holmes says it is the inherent nature for us to be ever seeking greater self-expression in terms of freedom. Our freedom and our strength, they come from our knowing that regardless of what comes along in life, we are not alone. We have a power that created us, and whatever we've created in our life, we can uncreate. And this is what is calling us on to know something better for ourselves. Our freedom comes from our ability to decide what we're going to experience, what we choose to focus our attention on. This is the one freedom that can never be taken from you. Viktor Frankl wrote about this in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist before World War II in Vienna. He was Sigmund Freud's top disciple, and he was set to inherit the Freud Institute. When the Nazis came into Vienna, Freud was able to get out, but Viktor Frankl did not. And he went through the experience of the Holocaust and the concentration camps. He lost all of his family. He was the only one to survive the concentration camps. And at the end, he said that this is the one thing that can't be taken from you. Everything else can be taken from you. But your freedom to decide what it is that you're going to focus your attention on, that is yours and yours alone. And through that power, you can create the life of your dreams. This is what our challenge is as we go through this journey of life. Will I focus on my problems, or will I lift my eyes up to a better knowing? Will I lift my eyes up to the greater possibilities? Will I move on in my future, or will I stay bound by my past? And unfortunately, that's what happened to Janis Joplin. She was an amazing talent. She had a voice that only comes along once in a generation. And more than that, she had the ability to connect with her audience. When you watched her on interviews, you would cry along with her songs and you would laugh with her joy. You connected to her pain and her love. That kind of talent, that's something that can't be taught. That's something that is inherent. And she had it in spades. But unfortunately, she had also developed a bad heroin habit. Later in life, she was able to kick the heroin for a short while. But she made the mistake of going back to her high school reunion. She thought she could go back and that they would accept her now that she was a world star. But unfortunately, when she got back to the small town in Texas where she came from, they ridiculed her and they made fun of her. They treated her like a freak. And she was labeled later to die from her heroin habit. She had given up her freedom to her past. One of the greatest statements Dr. Holmes wrote in our teaching is that principle is not bound by precedence. It takes a while to understand it, but what he was really saying was really powerful. He unfortunately had a tendency to muddle the English language every once in a while. But for students of our teaching, that statement, principle is not bound by precedence, it's almost like hearing the national anthem. It resonates so with our soul. When you hear it, you almost want to stand up for it. I'd almost like it to be on my tombstone. That's how important it is for me. Either that or thinner at last. But principle, not bound by precedence. All that means is that God is not a God of history. And just because you haven't had something in your life doesn't mean that you have to go another day without it. Solid stone is nothing more than sand and water and 1,000,000 years gone by. Dr. Holmes says to suppose that the creative power of the universe would create us in bondage and leave us bound, to create us with a desire to have love, but not give us the means to express it, to give us the desire to have success, but not give us the intelligence to create it, to give us the dream for peace, but not give us the heart to manifest it, to consider us such a God that would create us with such hopes and dreams and only to watch us go through life in turmoil and distress, that idea dishonors the idea of God. Right where we are, we have the power, and there is a way for us to experience all the joy, all the love that God had in mind when it created us. We are here to know that we are loved and supported by that which is greater than we are. And we're not far away from it. I think one of the biggest blessings of the virus that we've been experiencing for the past 6 months is it has reminded us that we don't need so much to make ourselves happy, that we have already a lot of what we need to be satisfied. We don't need all the activity. We don't need all the material things. That a lot of our happiness is already in our backyard. Dr. Holmes said the seed of freedom is planted in the innermost being of every soul. But like the prodigal son, we must make that discovery for ourselves. Now, what the prodigal son did was not that big. It wasn't that powerful. He really wasn't that smart of a person. He was kind of a knucklehead. But he did do one powerful thing in his life, and that was to make one good decision. When he was at the very worst of his life, to make the decision, I don't have to suffer through this. There's better for me. I can pick myself up and get to a better situation. And this is what is for all of us to know for ourselves, that we can have better. We're not here to suffer and to go through the turmoil of life. We have a power and goodness with God that we can experience good in our life. And one day we will all make that decision for ourselves. One day we will break free of the chains that bind us and the cords that limit us. One day we will walk out of the prisons of our minds, only to look back and see the doors were never locked, the windows were never barred. We are all here to know that there is no power in the world that can stop us when we realize who we are and whose we are, and that we are children of the Most High. That we're not knuckleheads in need of a good hard lesson, but we're conduits of God's love and mercy. And we're here to be awed by how much Spirit loves and supports us, how much it's willing to open up the gates of heaven and rain down blessings upon us. It's for us to manifest, and we do it through our freedom. We do it by having a better idea for ourselves. It's the freedom that we're here to accept, but we have to do the accepting. The banquet's been laid before us, but we have to step up to life and know that we're worthy of God's goodness, we're worthy of life's blessing, and that we are here as children of the Most High to experience God's love, God's joy, God's prosperity. It's within every one of us to do. Now's the time, and we're up to it. It's the truth in your life today. It's the truth in mine. And so it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, to honor America with the singing of America the Beautiful, please welcome the man and his soul, Mr. Ray Charles.
Liberating strife, who more than self their country love, and mercy borderline line. What I'm saying about the living, this America, sweet America, may God thy glorified, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. And you know, when I was a little boy, I remember we always sang these words. Oh, beautiful, far spacious sky, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesty. Now wait a minute. Save me, brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. You know, I wish I had y'all to help me sing this thing here. Go ahead. America. Oh, yes, he did. You ought to love him for it, 'cause he cried out good. He told me what. Save me, brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Lord, let Jesus love that. I want to thank you, Lord. Let me thank you, Lord.
Let's end our service with a closing prayer. Know this truth with me. There is but one God, one mind, one power, and that power is perfect love, it's divine intelligence. And that power has created me to experience all the freedoms of life. Freedom from fear, freedom from want, freedom from disease, freedom to know the best about myself. So here today, I now accept all this great good. Here today, I see myself as Spirit sees me. Here today, I choose to lift my eyes up to a better knowing for myself. And here today, I create for myself a new heaven and a new earth. This is the desire that Spirit had in mind when it created me, and today I will not turn from it. It's my truth. I celebrate this right knowing, and I release this prayer into the mind of God to do its good and perfect work, returning to me, multiplied abundantly. And together we say, and so it is. All right, my friends, know this final truth with me. Your life is not a problem to be solved. It's a miracle unfolding. Your job this week is to go name your miracle, to proclaim your miracle, and to make it your own. God bless us all. Now let us go be the miracle God has called us to be. Until we see each other again, many blessings, Reverend Ken.